Welcome to Class 13 of the Blueprint for Liberty series. In this final class of the series, we will discuss the John Birch Society, what it is, what it does, and why every patriotic, God-fearing American should join it. The John Birch Society is an Americanist organization that diligently works to create an informed electorate and influence elected officials to uphold the Constitution, which they all swore an oath to uphold, and ultimately return back to God. I like to tell people that the John Birch Society acts as salt and light in the community, and if the church as a whole was doing what it was supposed to be doing, there would be no need for the John Birch Society. This is similar to the ministry of Nathan, when he went to King David, who had fallen into sin, telling him a story and calling him to repentance. And one does need tact when approaching elected officials, just like Nathan, rather than just screaming at them, which is ineffective. If you recall, King David committed adultery with a woman, got her pregnant, and had her husband killed to cover up his sin. Nathan saw this and devised a plan to confront David in a tactful way so as not to end up 6 feet under. Nathan went to David, carefully told him a story to get David to see the reality of what he did, and then Nathan rebuked him. In contrast, John the Baptist went to the king and rebuked him for taking his brother's wife. The result was that John the Baptist lost his life. So we need to approach our elected officials with tact like Nathan. And as members of the John Birch Society, we have effective tools to do just that. With that said, let me quote our founder, Robert Welch. It is a cardinal principle of the John Birch Society that every man's religious beliefs constitute a personal matter, which is outside of our area of influence or involvement. It has been and is our great undertaking to bring into one body, for the first time in human history, truly good men and women of all sects, denominations, and creeds who will work together with tolerant goodwill for those spiritual ideals and noble purposes which they do hold in common. Robert Welch, like Joe McCarthy, saw the communist infiltration within the American government and wanted to take action. However, after witnessing what the media did to McCarthy, who tried to fight it publicly, Welch decided to take a different tactic and fight communism from behind the scenes through education. On December 9th, 1958, Robert Welch founded the John Birch Society in Indianapolis, Indiana, with a small group of nonpartisan businessmen and professional leaders who sought to educate and organize citizens to action. He named the society after Captain John Birch, a Christian missionary to China. The Doolittle Raiders crash-landed in Japanese-occupied China after bombing Japan during World War II. There, they met missionary John Birch, who hid the Doolittle Raiders from the Japanese, saving their lives. John Birch continued to help the war effort, gathering vital intelligence for the United States. He was awarded a field commission as a captain in the U.S. Army and continued his work as an intelligence officer. Captain Birch did great work gathering intelligence on enemy activities. Just a few days after the war, he was stopped at a checkpoint and murdered by the communists. Birch was the first American martyr under Mao Zedong and the Chinese communists. McCarthy was right. We already had a communist infiltration within the American government, and they covered up the murder of Captain John Birch. A few years later, Robert Welch uncovered the story of John Birch, and after getting permission from his family in Macon, Georgia, named the society after Captain John Birch. Today, we at the John Birch Society continue the legacy of Captain Birch by gathering intelligence on the communist movements, not only here in America, but all around the world. What is the purpose of the John Birch Society? Robert Welch stated, the purpose of the John Birch Society, as officially stated, will be to promote less government, more responsibility, and a better world. The purpose, as unofficially described and discussed among ourselves, will be exactly the same thing. Our short-range purpose, our long-range purpose, and our lasting purpose is to promote less government, more responsibility, and a better world. That says it all. It is, I think, simple, understandable, and all-inclusive as to the goals for which we should strive. Education as a strategy is sometimes a hard sell, because you don't see the results up front, such as getting someone elected, but you'll get lasting results. If you help get someone elected, you'll need to help them get elected again in 2, 4, 6 years. But if you create an educated electorate, you don't have to tell them how to vote. They will know. You won't have to tell them that their rights are being violated. They will know. The Founding Fathers believed that an educated electorate was essential for maintaining a free society. For example, Thomas Jefferson wrote, "If a nation expects to be ignorant and free in a state of civilization, it expects what never was and never will be." And James Madison wrote, "To suppose that any form of government will secure liberty or happiness without any virtue in the people is a chimerical idea. We should heed the Founders' advice by working to create an educated electorate that will vigilantly defend our God-given rights." How is the John Birch Society different from other organizations? The John Birch Society is not a political organization. Rather, it is a nonpartisan educational and action organization. The John Birch Society is organized at the grassroots level with paid coordinators and volunteer leaders who establish chapters in communities all across the country since 1958. The John Birch Society has distributed well over 250 million pieces of literature, including those warning about increased government spending, centrally planned inflation, and the centralization of power in the government, and the gradual appeasement toward communism, as well as those on other topics, such as heralding the virtues of sound money, withdrawing from the United Nations, and a foreign policy of non-interventionism. The John Birch Society also differs from other organizations that typically only deal with one issue, such as abortion or critical race theory. The John Birch Society takes the fight to the next level by exposing the people pushing for all of these branch issues. If you cut down a tree at its root, the whole tree falls. Abortion is one example of the bigger picture issue of population control. The insider globalist elites are also using vaccines, euthanasia, birth control, etc. And if you go after the people pushing for this, then that would by extension solve the problem of abortion. The John Birch Society has a balanced strategy that works, a strategy of information and action items to guide a nationwide network of America-loving volunteers to be as effective as possible. The JBS agenda details our entire agenda and serves as a reference manual for members. It is our game plan for securing our God-given rights by stopping the globalist drive toward a one-world government. The JBS agenda is designed to hit the enemy where it is vulnerable. We don't just hack at the branch issues. We chop at the root to cut the source of all collectivist-inspired symptoms and any resulting tyranny. Accordingly, the agenda lists the most important threats to our constitutional republic, and it provides clear direction on each issue. In addition, our monthly JBS Bulletin fosters concerted action by providing clear direction and action steps regarding the most pressing agenda items. The agenda serves as a general guide, and more specific action items and steps can be found in the bulletin, as well as the individual action project pages at jbs.org. JBS members inform others and work together to bring change in policy. There's only so much one can do as a lone wolf, but as a pack, we can be effective. Members are organized into a national network of local chapters that meet regularly, initiate local projects, and implement the action items outlined in the bulletin. Individual chapters meet in small groups in their local communities, yet work together in a concerted, organized manner. We also organize networks of ad hoc committees enabling members and non-members to work together on important issues such as restoring limited government, protecting the Constitution, rescuing our children from public schools, supporting locally controlled police, and restoring election integrity. There are so many officials to see and meetings to attend locally: city or county councils, zoning and planning boards, political party meetings, school boards, etc., that one person can't go to them all. And that doesn't even take into account elected officials such as legislators at the state or federal levels. In addition to individual chapters working locally, we have full-time employees in the field who coordinate all the chapters in their areas to work on JBS agenda items in a concerted manner. We must work together in a coordinated effort to make a difference. With so much going on, it's hard to keep track of everything. Therefore, the John Birch Society provides legislative alerts at the state and federal levels. These alerts are priceless in a culture that is as busy as we are. A lot of times, the battle is fought and lost, and we don't even know that it took place. And by the time that we do find out, it's too late. The legislative alerts are especially helpful toward the end of the state session, when more than 4,000 bills or resolutions have typically been introduced. Who can keep track of 4,000 pieces of legislation, much less read them all and have a life? It is especially important to receive news and alerts in a timely manner. The strategy of propaganda is to keep you off balance, misinforming people or informing them so late that they believe nothing can be done about it. Cutting through the propaganda is key for producing lasting results, because if you don't know what's going on, there's nothing you can do about it. The John Birch Society cuts through the propaganda by providing real news and intelligence for its members to get active and make a difference. The first way we cut through the propaganda is with the New American magazine, which comes out once a month. Our members get a free subscription to it. The New American's editorial worldview is guided by the U.S. Constitution and the principles upon which the Constitution is based. Specifically, we want to restore and retain the values and vision that made America great: limited government, God-given freedoms, our constitutional guarantees, and the personal responsibility a free people must exercise to stay free. In foreign policy, our editorial worldview is based on avoiding foreign entanglements and going to war only when necessary to defend our country and our citizens. Our purpose is encapsulated by the slogan that appears on the cover of the New American: that freedom shall not perish. We do not realize the power of propaganda until we start using its vocabulary and we know in our mind that what we're saying is wrong, but it just comes out and we must correct ourselves. In addition to the New American, we also publish the Insider Report, which is a weekly online newsletter published by the New American. It keeps our readers well informed on fast-breaking political, economic, and social developments. The Insider Report is emailed to paid subscribers of the New American magazine and JBS members every Friday as part of their membership/subscription. The New American publishes the Freedom Index and the Congressional and Legislative Scorecards, which rate the voting records of members of Congress and state legislators based on Americanist and constitutional principles. The Freedom Index and Scorecards for Congress are published twice a year, and the state legislative scorecards are published once a year. They're all available at thefreedomindex.org. The scorecards are easy to print out, and we encourage you to share them with your legislators as well as your fellow citizens to make them aware of their legislators' records. I found that most people don't even know who their legislators are, much less how they vote. See, it doesn't matter how conservative or how liberal they speak, how they vote is where the rubber meets the road. Put simply, if a representative is not following constitutional principles, his constituents either need to correct the representative or find a new one. In places where members have publicized the voting records of big spending legislators, there has either been a measurable improvement or voters have chosen new legislators. The John Birch Society also offers Freedom's Voices, which provides expert speakers who deliver presentations to public audiences via webinars, in person, on radio and TV shows. In communities where the John Birch Society chapters are active, the truths about who we are as a country and who the enemies of freedom are have been brought to millions. And various schemes that violate the Constitution and our God-given rights have been thwarted. Working together, we have exposed deceptive false solutions such as banning firearms, nationalizing law enforcement, school subsidies masquerading as school choice, and the calls for an Article 5 Constitutional Convention have been thwarted. Our most important success continues to be building an understanding of the proper role of government, the U.S. Constitution, the Founders' blueprint for our nation, and the need to remain ever vigilant in the fight for freedom. If you haven't joined the John Birch Society yet, I invite you to do so today and to join the vital effort to save our constitutional republic as the Founding Fathers intended. As Robert Welch said, we need disciplined pullers at the oars and not passengers in the boat. It's not too late to save our country. If our patriotic citizens get involved and work together, we can and will succeed. This concludes Class 13 and the Blueprint for Liberty series. Share what you've learned with elected officials and fellow citizens and get involved to save our republic.